Ladies and gentlemen, what a fucking game that was. That was, truthfully, I think one of the better finishes that we've had in the history of the Super Bowl. I'm going to give you guys all my reactions, all my thoughts, all my analysis of the big game. But before we get into it, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the videos. I got some more videos coming out hopefully soon. I got a video coming out tomorrow as well. So if you've been liking the videos, don't forget to subscribe and comment down below what your thoughts were about the Super Bowl, because I think that there is a lot to unpack here. So I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to try to go as chronologically as possible, and then at the end of my review of the game, I'm going to talk about like the broad themes, the broad, I guess, ramifications of this game. So starting off, I thought the Chiefs started really, really sloppy, and there was a theme of them kind of just not clicking on offense. They had the Pacheco fumble early in the game. Their pass protection was breaking down. It didn't seem like their guys were getting open. Travis Kelce was getting boxed up early on, and it really was looking worrisome for the Chiefs. Meanwhile, the Niners were kind of moving the ball at will. That first drive, they really marched all the way down the field, and Christian McCaffrey, of all people, fumbled the football. And that's just, looking back at the game now, I mean, that was truly a huge moment in the game. That was, at minimum a 3-point swing in a double overtime game, just about. So that's crazy, right? So they get the fumble from Christian McCaffrey. But honestly, I thought their offense in the first half was pretty good. They only scored those 10 points, but you can honestly maybe even say 17 with that fumble. But, they were moving the ball. They were consistently moving the ball. They were out-positioning the Chiefs by a lot, especially midway through that second quarter. They had much more yards, much more first downs. They were in control of this game. They were up 10-0. Now, Mahomes, being Mahomes, never let the moment get to him. Never let the lead feel insurmountable. I mean, the Niners were up 10, and I guarantee you every single 49ers fan watching the game was still biting their fingernails. A 10-point lead is not safe with Mahomes. It's not safe with the Chiefs. And unfortunately, it's not safe with Kyle Shanahan, right? So when it was 10-0, it was still very much a ball game. The Chiefs were able to get that field goal. I did think that the 49ers keeping them out of the end zone, before the end of the first half was huge. But just going into it, 10-3 at halftime. It looked like both offenses, were struggling a little bit. The 49ers were obviously doing much better, but the Chiefs, you really thought, wow, like they need to make some adjustments. They need to get something going. They need to get Travis Kelce more involved. They need to stop fumbling the football. I think they had 3 fumbles in the first half. It was a disaster. And then you saw, Kyle Shanahan, I think, really get the better of Steve Spagnuolo early in the game. Some of those like rollouts, some of those crossers with Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel wasn't as involved as I would have thought, but he had a couple nice first downs as well. And, the feeling was that the 49ers are making a good amount of plays that are keeping the game, a little bit out of reach, right? Obviously, we all knew that 10 points, was very much able to be overcome by Mahomes. But you kind of thought, like, okay, the Niners are comfortable-ish, right? And, Usher comes out. By the way, great performance. That dude was dancing his ass off. Usher comes out, performs. Second half, Chiefs get the ball. And I thought the Niners getting the ball in the start of the first half was huge for the Chiefs into the second half, having that extra possession. Coaches always talk about winning the middle 4 minutes of the game, and they got that field goal at the end of the first half, and then, they didn't do anything in the start of the second half. They threw the pick, and I thought, this game could get really out of hand here, but the Chiefs' defense does what it has done through the entirety of the Steve Spagnuolo era, and that is make big plays when they need to. They didn't allow the 49ers to get any yards. They basically made them go 3 and out, and kept him out of field goal range. And I thought that was huge because at that point it was a 10-3 game. A touchdown there is a 14-point game when you have no momentum. That would have been disastrous. But they made the 49ers punt, and the rest of the game was decided by special teams, right? Jake Moody, who I thought actually had a big game, he stepped up. Had that extra point blocked that he probably would have missed, but I'd honestly would rather have him miss that extra point than missing those 2 field goals. He nailed the 55-yarder. He nailed the one at the end of the game to get them that 3-point lead. I honestly thought that was a good performance from Jake Moody, especially a guy who's been struggling all year. I got to give him props, right? But the really big special teams play in this game, and this is a sight that's all too familiar for 49ers fans, is the muffed punt. Which wasn't exactly a muff punt. It hit off the guy's leg, and Ray tried to jump on it, wasn't able to. And how could you not have Kyle Williams PTSD flashbacks for the 49ers? I mean, that was truly a nightmare scenario. Chiefs then, the next play got the touchdown to MVS, who, made a few big plays in this game. Also had a really stupid-ass play in overtime, but we're not going to talk about that yet. But, you really, after that punt, you really felt the momentum I think, swing heavily in the Chiefs' favor. And after that, they kind of got it going on offense. Their defense, I mean, you want to talk about just a masterclass of defensive coordinator performance. It seemed like everything the 49ers were trying to do in that second half, the Chiefs had an answer. The Chiefs had a guy in the right spot. The Chiefs had a blitzer right in the throwing lane. I mean, it was truly remarkable to see how dialed in that Steve was, and to put his guys in those good positions. I mean, it was like big third down, they need to stop. Perfect. Big, whatever. They were getting plays. And I will take a brief moment to say that I actually will give Brock Purdy respect here, because I have been critical of Brock Purdy in the past. I don't think that he's warranted the immense amount of praise that he's been given. However, I said the one thing that he couldn't do and that he didn't do was make the big mistake. Don't turn the ball over. And Brock played a clean game. He did not throw an interception. He did not fumble the football. And so he continually put Niners in good position to win. I thought the play calling from Kyle Shanahan in the second half, again, he gets himself in trouble. He needs to run the fucking football. They got too pass heavy, and the Chiefs, they were just ready for it. I don't think that it was necessarily Brock something he did wrong. I just think the Chiefs were prepared, and they had adapted to what the 49ers had done earlier in the games. Like, some of those bootlegs didn't work in the second half like they had worked in the first half. There were some tight, kind of difficult throws that he didn't make and that, weren't caught maybe by Deebo Samuel or someone else. But I don't necessarily think he was bad in the second half. His statistics were obviously much worse, but I wouldn't say that he put up a bad performance. Just, when you're playing Patrick Mahomes, you have to be elite. And I don't think he was elite, but I also don't think he was bad. So I'm not going to put blame on his shoulders, because I didn't love the play calling there in the third quarter for a while. But obviously the Chiefs, were rolling. They get it back. You got a tie game. The Niners kick that field goal. Chiefs get the ball, drive all the way down the field. I thought they were going to end it in regulation after that Travis Kelce play that really got them close. They got to, the 9 or 10 yard line. And then, you just had that sinking feeling. I mean, at least me as a Seahawks fan, I had that sinking feeling. I'm like, oh, don't throw an interception. Do not throw an interception. And he didn't, because it's Patrick Mahomes. Although that linebacker could have had a toe drag swag. That would have been sick as fuck. He didn't. Nonetheless, Bucker made the field goal because he's automatic. And that missed extra point / blocked extra point really came back to haunt the 49ers, because then that game went into overtime. The Chiefs, were able to just kick that field goal right there. And, it became an overtime game. And I will say, just as a little side note, I think the NFL, the irony of the first playoff game with the new overtime rules being the Super Bowl with your biggest audience is kind of hilarious, because people that I was at, my girlfriend's house, and everybody there was like, what's the rule? And I had to, kind of sit down and explain. And so I feel like it was kind of a headache for the league to have to explain, the new playoff rules in a big Super Bowl like this, especially a tightly contested one. But one interesting thing that I was thinking about then, and that I'm thinking about even now, is I find it interesting that the 49ers elected to receive in overtime, because you would think that, being guaranteed a possession, you would almost want to have the ball second. That way you can see what your opponent did and then adapt to your strategy, because, had the Chiefs gone and scored first, obviously the Niners would have had to go for it on fourth down. They couldn't have settled for a field goal. But they went down the field and kicked a field goal to start overtime. Chiefs got the ball back. And I think pretty much everybody in America said, Mahomes is going to get this done. He's going to drive the field. He's going to score a touchdown. And that was the theme of the game. I think every big play, every moment where the Chiefs had to have it, every time, the odds, seemed to be in the 49ers' favor, Mahomes just brought them back. And there were some drops. There were some bad throws. He did throw the one turnover. There was obviously the Chiefs fumbled the ball a good amount in this game. But, you felt every big moment Patrick Mahomes was just going to get it done. And I think that is a sign that we are witnessing one of the all-time greats. When they got the ball back in overtime, I thought to myself, well, he's just going to go down the field. Like, I really, I didn't have a doubt. In the 49ers defense, I thought they came to play. Their effort was noticeably better than it was in the NFC Championship game. Chase Young was making an impact. Fred Warner was all over the field. And the receivers, for the most part, for Kansas City were pretty quiet. So I thought the 49ers defense played a good game. I did not have a problem with it. But on that 4th and 1, I said, all right, Andy Reid, I knew he was going to put the ball in Mahomes' hands. He gets him out on that bootleg. Bosa broke contain, which unfortunately happened a couple of times. I think they noticed that on film and they took advantage of it. Broke contain, was able to run. And Mahomes turned a lot of sacks into maybe 2-yard rushes, 3-yard rushes. That one, we turned into about an 8-yard rush, 9-yard rush, whatever it was, and kept the chains moving. 4th and 1, got to have it in the Super Bowl, and he gets it. And then, they just kept driving down the field, and they were not going for the field goal there. They were going for the touchdown. They were going for the kill. And Mecole Hardman, of all people, scores the game winner. I mean, what a I guess comeback for Mecole Hardman. He's on the Jets this offseason, gets traded, for what was it, like a sixth or something, and then scores the game winner in the Super Bowl. And that 2 years in a row, the Chiefs have had not so great wide receivers score the game winner in the Super Bowl. And I think that's just such a testament to Mahomes and Andy Reid, the way they scheme, the way they prepare, the way they are able to overcome, crazy circumstances. And I do want to touch on Reid and Patrick Mahomes, so stay tuned. But I first want to put a pause, talk about the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan now has blown multiple 10-point leads in the Super Bowl. 3, to be exact. One is the offensive coordinator for the Falcons in 2016, the other Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and now this Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And I don't necessarily think that he deserves a lot of backlash for this one. I mean, there was some crazy shit that, the punt muff was obviously not his fault. That was a huge momentum swing. The Chiefs, it was a free 7, basically. But I will say, again, I think that he runs to the problem of getting too pass heavy. He was not committing to the run in that third quarter. You have Christian fucking McCaffrey. Run the damn ball. And I know the Chiefs were playing the run well. I get it. But at the very least, it would have chewed a lot more clock. Wouldn't have been so many incompletes. I mean, I know at one point in the third quarter, Brock was like, 4 for 12 or something? Like, they were not having success throwing the football. I think running the ball there would have been a much better solution. And I know they tried to, obviously, more in the fourth quarter, but again, I still think that they were way too pass-heavy. They didn't rely enough on Christian McCaffrey, who obviously he had the fumble, but it's Christian McCaffrey. Like, that wasn't going to happen again, I don't think. But I don't know. And I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not going to start the conversation that Kyle Shanahan needs to be canned or anything like that. That's ridiculous. But some coaches maybe just aren't built for the big moment. And, that used to be the knock on Andy Reid. Back when he was in Philadelphia, they'd say, oh, well, he can't win the big one. He finally won the NFC Championship game, then he couldn't win the Super Bowl. And then it was NFC Championship game loss, NFC Championship game loss, right? And then obviously he's come to the Chiefs and he's won 3 Super Bowls in 5-6 years, whatever it's been. And he's just been incredible. Cemented himself into, GOAT contention. Obviously, he's not Belichick, but he's, probably in the pedestal below him. But touching on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes for a second, I mentioned this after the AFC Championship game, that Mahomes is officially on GOAT watch. He is officially on GOAT watch. Back-to-back. Been to 4, won 3. The only guy to beat him was Brady. And, the guy's 28 years old, right? He's been in the league for 6 years, and he's got 3 Super Bowls. Obviously, I don't expect him to win a Super Bowl 50% of the years that he starts in the league, but to get 3 already, that's pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible, and I'll be interested to see when he gets his 4th, because Tom Brady got 3 in the first 4 or 5 years of his career, then didn't win one for a decade until he beat Seattle in Super Bowl 49. So I'll be interested to see when/if Mahomes gets his 4th. I think that we can start the Tom Brady, direct comparisons at 5. I do believe that. But in terms of just the best player of all time, the best quarterback of all time, he is certainly on a positive trajectory to get there. So Patrick Mahomes is truly, truly a special player to watch. He is truly a legend of this game already. And you just can't say enough things about Patrick Mahomes. You really can't say enough good things, despite the severe lack of talent in the receiving room, despite the 10-point deficit, despite the 49ers defense playing phenomenally in the first half. Mahomes just found a way to win, and that's what the truly, truly great ones do, and it's special to watch. It is special to watch. One last thing I'll say about the Chiefs. This is just kind of looking a future outlook for both teams. You want to talk about Super Bowl windows. I don't care who's on the team. I don't care who's catching passes. I don't care what's going on. If you have Patrick Mahomes taking the snaps and Andy Reid coaching your football team, you are going to be in Super Bowl contention. You are. Now, on the flip side for the 49ers, I truly believe, and this is not just as a hater, I truly believe they have one more year left. They have one more year in the window, because after 2024, Brock is going to get expensive. McCaffrey's deal, I believe, expires. The Bosa contract really kicks in. Brandon Ayuk is going to have to get paid. There's going to be a lot of 49ers on this team right now that will not be on the team in 2025. And can they rebuild their roster and hit after, can they hit draft pick after draft pick after draft pick after draft pick like they had with this regime? I don't know if you're going to find another George Kittle. I don't know if you're going to find another Debo Samuel. I don't know if you're going to find another Fred Warner, right? By the way, just real quick pause. What happened to Dre Greenlaw was tragic. Obviously I never root for injuries, and I heard on Twitter that it was an Achilles injury, which is just terrible. I hope he doesn't miss any of next season, but to have that freak of an injury, just running on the field is just terrible luck, and I truly do feel bad, and I hope that he recovers well. But yeah, I think the 49ers have one more year of serious contention, and I think we might be looking at a team that is very reminiscent of the 90s Bills, right? The 90s Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls. They were the pioneers of the K-gun offense. They were phenomenal every year in the regular season. They had Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed and that Bruce Smith, the sack artist, and they were awesome. And it came to the Super Bowl, and they just couldn't get it done. Year after year after year after year. And unfortunately, that's the current song that we're singing about the 49ers. So that's where it stands. But hope you guys enjoyed my analysis of the Super Bowl. Let me know if you guys have any other thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear your input as well. All I got to say is bang, bang, Niner gang. Go Chiefs. I'll see you guys later.